Lifeblood is one of the most interesting and least talked about topics you can find in Hollow Knight, and that's because it is not connected with the main story of either games. But personally, I find it one of the most interesting and visually stunning element in the games. Thanks to Silksong, we now have enough information about it to make a fully fledged video, so let's discuss everything we know about it. Lifeblood is a very weird blue substance that can be found throughout Hallownest in the form of large cocoons that can be hit to release these small creatures called life seeds. The knight can consume and absorb them and gain some additional blue masks. In terms of gameplay, it is just a niche mechanic that is not very used, but in terms of lore, Lifeblood has a lot going on. We know that Lifeblood comes from these blue roots or veins that can grow fruits. Lifeblood seems to work like a mixture between a tree and a parasite. Did you ever question why trees have fruits or why their seeds are inside the fruit? Well, they evolved fruits so animals would want to eat them, and then they will poop the seeds alongside the perfect nutrients somewhere else from where another tree will grow. In this case, bugs will consume and drink these fruits made by the Lifeblood veins. The bugs that consume them said they are delicious, they feel refreshed, and it gives a very pleasant feeling. It is also said that Lifeblood has healing and regeneration properties, even curing death, but we will get there later. The parasite part of Lifeblood is from how it actually spreads its seeds. Lifeblood seems to cause addiction, and if you consume it in large amounts or for a long period of time, it will eventually corrupt your body and your vital fluids will be replaced by Lifeblood. When a bug that was infected with Lifeblood dies, Lifeblood roots will spread from their body, creating these butterfly-shaped flowers that probably also spreads the Lifeblood seeds, but I don't know how that actually works or if it's even true. From the veins, new fruits will grow for more bugs to come and drink them. There are some parasites in real world that will control its host to be eaten by birds to be able to lay their eggs in their poop, so it seems that Lifeblood grows fruits like a tree and infects the host who eats them like a parasite. But what's the origin of this very weird substance? Well, we don't know for sure, but the most popular theory is that it comes from the abyss. In the game, besides the void tendrils, the shades and some small creatures like the shadow creepers, we don't have any real void creatures. All of them seems to be made artificially, maybe except the shadow creepers, but we don't know like literally anything about them. But there is actually one void creature that we can find there. If you have a lot of Lifeblood masks, this strange door in the abyss will open. Normally the abyss is a lifeless place, but this area is filled with plant life and blue butterflies. At the end of the room there is this table with a Lifeblood charm on it. In the past this place might have been a preying site for this giant creature we can see in the background. We barely know anything about this creature. We only know that it is called Abyss Creature and it's deeply connected with Lifeblood. There are two main theories about it. One is that this Abyss Creature had also drank Lifeblood since it has these blue eyes like the other ones who drink it, but I think it is more likely that this creature is the creator or the source of Lifeblood. Besides, in the Abyss we can see this creature in Godhome, the place where the God-Seekers called upon the powerful creatures in Hallownest. There is a room filled with Lifeblood veins where you can dream nail this orb to allow Lifeblood to grow around the Godhome. I think this creature is the one that created this orb of Lifeblood inside the Godhome. In the Lifeblood room in the Abyss we can see these dream catcher particles that are related to dreams, so it is possible that this creature can use dream powers as well, and with it the creature created Lifeblood. You might ask now, how can dream's power can be used to create something in the real world? It's similar how Anne created the mosskin and the vegetation in the green path from her dream. We even have a more close example to Lifeblood that works more or less in the same way. If we look at the creatures mutated by Lifeblood in Pharloom, they resemble something familiar. If you just switch the color from blue to orange, we get the exact same effect that the Radiance infection had. The Radiance is a god that lives inside the dream realm, but she was able to manifest her godly powers to enter into the bugs of Hallownest's dreams and corrupting them from within. The infected bugs will start at first to have these orange eyes, showing how they are mind controlled by her. Then they will grow in size quite a bit and will develop these orange cysts on their body. Lifeblood seems to work in the same way. The bugs who consume it will have their skin and eyes turn blue, then they will as well grow in size and develop these blue cysts on their body. Just like Lifeblood, the Radiance infection also had these orange veins coming from the infected bugs and all that stuff. And if you're still not convinced, there is this little creature that infects the bugs, like in the case of the broken vessel, that is named Light Seed. And it looks and functions exactly like the Life Seed, even the name is more or less the same. I'm quite sure that the Abyss creature is not as powerful as the Radiance, because bugs have to willingly keep consuming Lifeblood in order to get infected. The Radiance created the infection out of revenge, but we don't know why the Abyss creature created Lifeblood. It might be a form of spreading its influence and making bugs worship worship it by being obsessed with Lifeblood or by being taken over by Lifeblood. A fun speculation is that what if the Radiance infection was actually inspired by the Lifeblood? The Radiance is aware of the Abyss and the ancient civilization, since she calls the Night her ancient enemy, so it is possible that she knows about the Abyss creature and Lifeblood. She might have copied the idea when she wanted to take her revenge upon Hallownest. I mean, at one point Lifeblood was able to flourish all around Hallownest until it was banned, so it really looks like a smaller version of the infection. But this is just a fun thought and there is no evidence for that. Okay, now let's discuss about the in-game history and lore of Lifeblood. So if we assume that the Abyss creature created Lifeblood, we can say that Lifeblood originated from the Abyss. From there, Lifeblood veins probably spread out upwards. There are signs of the void in deepness, and there are also 2 Lifeblood cocoons at the top of these areas, so I think it's possible that the Lifeblood veins traverse the same path as the void. Eventually bugs had found these fruits and consumed them. Then when the infected bugs died, the Lifeblood started to spread, so even more bugs started to consume it. Because of its healing properties and the good feeling it gives, it seems that Lifeblood eventually spread it everywhere. But there was a problem. We don't know for sure, but Lifeblood might be okay if it is consumed in very small quantities. The Knight and Hornet seems to be able to consume more than the average, but they have high resistances, so we don't know what are the limits of a normal bug. If a bug consumes too much Lifeblood, its vital fluids will be completely replaced with Lifeblood, and in most cases it will take control over that bug, attacking anyone near them, just like in the case of the infection. The reason it does that is probably to spread its seeds much faster and in a more aggressive way, to kill and infect even more bugs to spread its seeds. The situation seemed to be getting out of control, so eventually the Pale King had to take action. They destroyed most of the Lifebloods in the kingdom, and drinking Lifeblood was deemed a taboo, and anyone who would consume it from this point onwards was deemed a heretic. The term heretic is interesting. Heretic means to be a person who has a different type of religion that is in conflict with the official one, so I think it wasn't so much a problem with the infected bugs going rampage. Hell, maybe the Lifeblood users never reached the mutated stage. The main problem the Pale King had with Lifeblood seems to be that the bugs worship another god, in this case Lifeblood and the Abyss creature. The Pale King's main desire was to be worshipped, and for that he removed any other competitions like the Radiance. After Lifeblood was forbidden, it remained only in small hidden areas around the kingdom. Later, probably unbeknownst to the king, 3 charms were created by the bugs that consumed Lifeblood. Salubra sells one and she talks about the healthy benefits of drinking it. Another one can be found in the Abyss, probably made by the Abyss creature or maybe by one of its worshippers, because it can be found on a table that looks like a praying site. Or maybe a burial like the next case, which is the last one that can be found in a room filled to the brim with Lifeblood veins and butterflies. The source of this beautiful site is the grave of Blue Child Johnny, also known as the Kindly Heretic. Johnny drank so much Lifeblood to the point her skin turned blue and her vital fluids turned into Lifeblood, but she didn't mutate it or anything like that, and since she is called the Kindly Heretic, I don't think she was mind controlled by it or was aggressive in any way. Johnny was deemed a heretic, so she moved outside the kingdom in the Hallowing Cliffs, where she died. After her death, the room was transformed into what we see now. With her dying wish, she created a charm, Johnny's Blessing, that replaced all the users' health with Lifeblood, like what happened with her with the vital fluids thing. Overall, Lifeblood seems to be not that bad. Johnny seems like a nice bug, and we never see any bugs having any negative effects because of it. In fact, it seems to be capable to bring a dead area to life. But that only applies for what we know from Hollow Knight, because it looks like Lifeblood is far more dangerous, and who even knows what kind of infectious horror happened in the past here. And thanks to Silksong, we might be able to picture that. Lifeblood somehow managed to spread its seeds even as far as the furthest edge of Pharloom. We don't see any Abyss creature in Pharloom, even in the Abyss area, so it's not clear how Lifeblood managed to grow here. I suspect it might be from a bug that consumed it in Hallownest and died when it reached Pharloom, allowing the seeds to spread there. A certain bug that was alchemist Xylotol's master had found the Lifeblood hidden deep in salt-stricken waters. The master studied an experiment on it and discovered its great healing properties. Since they didn't know anything about this plant, they thought it originated from this location in Pharloom, and they call it Plasmium. but we will still call it Lifeblood for simplicity's sake, so keep that in mind. The Master had found a miraculous substance, so they dedicated their lives to research this substance. They probably wanted to create an universal healing serum. They suspect it can cure even death, but sadly the Master died at some point before she could complete any research. We are never told any details about her death, but before she died she tasked their assistant alchemist Xylotl to continue their study, and they guided him to take the Lifeblood seed and to plant it somewhere else to see if it can flourish in other environments other than its own. We know that's possible because this is not its original environment in the first place, but they don't know about that. Xylotl got an assistant of his own, Zango, and both of them took the Lifeblood seed and bring it into the Wormways, where they injected it in the fauna and flora around to see if it can grow there. He also said that they tried in the past to grow it in the wastelands, but it failed. Xylotl is so sure about this information that he calls it a fact. I guess this is yet another proof that Lifeblood works like a parasite. If it doesn't have anything to infect, it will not grow. But I mean, almost nothing can grow in the wastelands, so it's not a unique case. Now in the Wormways, a place at the far right of Pharloom, they were able to conduct their experiments in that area unbothered. While Xylotl studied and documented the effects of Lifeblood in the new environment, Zango was sent to keep inject Lifeblood in the area. Zango died in one of these expeditions, and as usual we don't know how. The most likely reason was that he was killed by the creatures in the area that can burrow underground and attack you by surprise. I don't think his death is related to Lifeblood, since, you know, it has the opposite effect, to make you healthier, not to kill you. And both Zango and Xylotl consume lots of Lifeblood themselves. Both of them have blue tinted skin similar to Blue Child Johnny, and Xylotl tells Hornet a lot about Lifeblood, how great it is and how he encourages her to keep inject herself with a tough pin that can pierce even her shell. A pin like that to insert Lifeblood into you is necessary because Lifeblood gives the infected bugs a very tough shell, so you need a strong pin to pierce through that. As all of us know by now, from Zango's corpse, Lifeblood veins and butterflies spread in the room, contributing to the overall spreading of Lifeblood in the Wormways area. In the game, Hornet can meet with Xylotl. If you find Zango's corpse, she will tell him about his death, but Xylotl doesn't seem to care that much or to be even surprised. He calls him unreliable and a buffoon, so their relation doesn't seem to be very good. He just cares about his work and couldn't give a damn about Zango. Xylotl asks for Hornet's help for his studies. He tasks Hornet to collect some Lifeblood samples from the small fruits or undeveloped cocoons that had grown there after they injected the area with Lifeblood to test its limits and to see how fast and far it can spread. After Hornet brings Xylotl the sample, he gives Hornet the Plasmium file tool, and he continues his study. All of this happens in Act 1 or 2, depending when you do the quest, but in Act 3 things change drastically. After some time, Lifeblood started to spread at a very rapid pace, and it took control over most of Wormways area. The creatures that live there drank Lifeblood from these fruits because, besides the fact that it's very alluring and addictive, it might be also a source of food as well. But they drank so much to the point that Lifeblood took over their bodies. They grew 2 or even 3 times larger than their original size and developed blue cysts on their body. The creature developed these little wings that looks like the butterfly flowers. Now the creature also has this blue tinted skin and even blue eyes and intestines, meaning, say it with me, its vital fluids were fully replaced by Lifeblood. This creature can now produce Lifeblood cysts from its mouth, and it uses it for attacks. Because of how much Gromling had changed, it was considered a different creature and it was renamed Plasmid. The Grom had it even worse. They are now called Plasmidas. This creature grew very large and it fused with the roof of the cave, and now it's not even able to move. It looks like Lifeblood fused the fauna and flora together. The Plasmidas has lots of cysts on its body, and it uses them as projectiles, and it seems that this is the only thing it can do now. This aggressive behavior might be for defense, but it also can be to spread its cysts even faster, like we discussed earlier, to shoot these blue cysts that will attach to the victim and corrupt them as well. Even if these creatures might have consumed lots of Lifeblood in this time, it still seems a bit too quick to reach that stage yet. We don't know how much time passes throughout Hornet's adventure in Pharloom, but it can be that long. So I suspect that Xylotl also further injected this creature with the Lifeblood he modified in his alchemy setup to speed up the process. And it looks like Karma is truly a bitch, because when Hornet finds him in Act 3, he doesn't look that great. He injected so much Lifeblood in his body that it started to take control over him as well. When Hornet asks him about this, he's like, "What? This? Pfft, nah, it's nothing. I feel great actually." His consciousness even seems to be fading. He mistook Hornet for his dead assistant, and despite looking like this, he calls it progress, and he wants to continue his study on Lifeblood despite all of his alchemy setup being destroyed, but it seems like he doesn't even realize that. Xylotl claims that the more you consume Lifeblood, the more you'll understand it. He gives Hornet one last task, and that is to collect 10 Lifeblood samples from the mutated creatures. The true surprise is that Hornet can get the samples from another creatures besides the two we discuss, and that is from the plasmified Zango. It seems that Xylotl's theory was correct. Lifeblood has the power to bring back the dead, but is this really what actually happens here? Zango is dead. The lifeblood that he consumed and spread out from his body in the room also took over his body like a parasite. This is no longer Zango, it's just a husk controlled by this weird substance called lifeblood, just like the others. And it seems that Zango really consumed lots of lifeblood, because if he would have a health bar, he would have like over 100 masks. You can extract a whopping 4 samples from him. At first he just walks around, but the more damage you deal to him, the more lifeblood seems to use his body in a more aggressive way. So it seems that this substance has some sort of instinct or mind or something like that. So yeah, it really behaves like a parasite. When you bring back the samples to Xylotl, he proceeds to consume that blood to gain even more knowledge about it and unlock the true secrets of Lifeblood. How does that work? I don't know, and I think he doesn't know either. I mean, drinking the bloods of random creatures is just a sure way to get AIDS unless you are a vampire or something. So Xylotl is just delusional at this point. As a final reward, he offers Hornet a plasmium gland he had within his shell that can produce a seemingly infinite amount of lifeblood, because it keeps replenishing itself over time. I guess this is the original seed that his master found and gave it to Xylotl to take it to the wormways. Xylotl probably used this gland as an infusion to keep pumping lifeblood in his body, and also for keep producing lifeblood to inject in the area. Hornet can use this gland to infinitely refill the lifeblood tool. After this event, lifeblood completely takes over Xylotl and he no longer moves or talks. He just twitches a bit sometimes. But what really motivated Zango and Xylotl to pursue this dangerous study on lifeblood? It seems that their main motivation is to not create an almighty healing potion, but something else. Pharloom is more or less a dead kingdom because of the hunting. What was once a kingdom filled with vegetation and creatures had now become a place filled with corpses, wasted areas, and hunted bugs that behaves more like zombies than regular bugs. Zango wanted to bring life back to Pharloom to spark new life in these dead lands. His motives are more general in Pharloom. Many bugs wanted to cure this place from the curse, to save their home. But Xylotl has a more personal reason. He wanted to research lifeblood to find a way to cure death. He speaks a bit about his master, and in his needling dialogue he says, "Life for all, life for you. A source, dear one." Xylotl had a very close relation with his master, unlike his relation with Zango. So their death probably shook him up pretty badly, unlike Zango again. He just really doesn't care about that dude. So he desperately wanted to continue the research in hopes to find a way to bring his master back to life. But he was blinded by the lifeblood alluring powers, and both him and Zango eventually lost themselves to the power that they worshipped so bad. So, in conclusion, is lifeblood bad? Well, if we look at the information from the first game, it isn't that bad. It strengthens your shell, it heals you, and nobody gets mutated, just a bit blue. It is also the most beautiful thing you can see in the entire game. The Pale King banned it mainly because he wanted only himself to be worshipped. We never see lifeblood at its peak in Hallownest, but we are able to see that in Silksong, and well, it's quite bad. It really looks like a smaller version of the Radiance infections. Hornet comments that this situation in Pharloom is similar to what happened in Hallownest in the past with the lifeblood, and even she compares lifeblood to the Radiance infection, so yeah. Hornet says that everyone who keeps consuming it will eventually get corrupted by it, and how the drawbacks far outweigh the benefits it gives. She has a higher resistance than the rest, but even she has limits, and that is 8 masks of health, because if she tries to inject her again, this happens. It looks like Hornet was corrupted by lifeblood to a small extent, and some of her vital fluids were replaced by it. Thanks to this we get some interesting insights into how lifeblood health works for the infected individuals. The mask seems to now have the same effect as the hive blood charm, to keep regenerating mask until it reaches full health, which means it truly heals the users. The problem is the bring back the dead thing, which is more of an illusion than an actual resurrection. If Hornet visits Eva while she's like this, she tells Hornet to not come any closer because she sensed the forbidden blood within her, that which grows and reshapes the world in its own vulgar image, confirming what we speculated about the reason why the abyss creature created it, to be worshipped and rule over others, or control the others in this case, just like what all the higher beings want, they just want to be worshipped. Hornet can reverse the effects even at this stage, unlike the other bugs, and that's because she's a higher being. But that is still nothing compared to the Knight, who can have as many Lifeblood masks as they want without any drawbacks. Yet another proof that the Knight is better than Hornet. Well, but that's probably because they are made of void and Lifeblood originated from the void or the abyss, so they have a natural immunity to it. Or this is because they are hollow like a pure vessel. I mean, this was the point of the vessels, to contain a similar infection, so it makes sense for the Knight to be immune to the Lifeblood. We know that the Lifeblood thing was more or less resolved in Hallownest. The Pale King banned it, it's hard to find the cocoons or any remains of it, and you will be killed or exiled if you consume any of it. I mean, that's why we never see any mutant over there, and I guess the bugs of Hallownest really don't want to go through another type of infection after everything that happened there. But what will happen with the Lifeblood that is in Pharloom? It even spread to a portion of Bone Bottom, so it seems quite bad, and nobody seems to be aware of what happens there or what this substance is, with the only exception being Hornet, and well, she doesn't seem to really care about it. Maybe now with xylitol consumed by Lifeblood the spreading will slow down, but I don't think it will be by much. It is already out of control, so even if the kingdom was saved from the Silk and from the Void later, they still have to do something about the Lifeblood. Like Hornet wants to save this place, but when it comes to Lifeblood she's like, whatever, not my problem, I don't care. Until a DLC would come that I'm more than sure will not cover anything about Lifeblood, because we already got quite a bit of content there. I will personally just headcanon that Hornet and Lace just burned that place to the ground alongside all the Lifeblood that was there after the end of the game. So this was everything we know about Lifeblood, aka Plasmium. Do you think I've missed something, or do you have any other interpretations of these events or some theories of your own? Just as usual, you can leave it in the comments and I will respond to most of it, if not all of them. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and for even more lore content about Silksong and many other games. I still have 2 videos ideas about Silksong until we move to something else, maybe Deltarune, since chapter 5 will come next year. By the way, the next video will be about the story of all the NPCs in the game, so be sure to stick around if you want to see the story of your favorite character in Silksong. As a last note, I just want to point out one final thing about xylitol, and that's, if he had played Expedition 33, he would have 100% chosen Miles' ending. His story is more or less the bug version of that.